me to come back to Kerala University. Basically, I got my PhD from RRL, but I still hold a PhD degree from Kerala University, the year of 2000. So I am so happy that I got a chance to come back just to virtually to Kerala University again. And basically, I would like to talk about, it's an informal talk, that's what Dr. Anidipti told me, to give some expertise and to share our experience with the students, whether they can use and find some job opportunity after their MSc or PhD degree. So basically, I have prepared my presentation in two different aspects. The first aspect, I would like to give a brief idea about what is the pharmaceutical industry in India. And second part, I would like to give you some idea about the job opportunities for MSc students, especially chemistry students and PhD students. So I think, as I already mentioned in the introduction, Dr. Kristabala, that the COVID-19 issue, but for pharma industry, it was an advantage. I should not say like that, but actually what happened was, we were the only one employees other than the doctors and police. We worked throughout the day, 24/7 throughout the COVID-19 situation because of the government request. Because we were producing a lot of drugs like basic drugs like paracetamol, antiretrovirus, basically used for the COVID treatment, and other one. And we might have heard about a wonder drug in the beginning called remdesivir. It was used for the COVID-19 patients. Basically, our company Hetero was the first one to introduce that molecule in India. And nowadays, that molecule is nobody is using that much. But still, we were the #1 company in India to supply the antiretrovirus. Basically, it's a drug used against the AIDS and HIV, but that is good for this COVID-19 viral disease also. So it was a benefit for actually for the pharma industry. I should not say like that, but that was the reality. Still, we are not able to meet the demand of the hospitals because all over the world people are asking for the pharmaceutical compounds, and we are seeing that the pharma India is called as the pharmacy of the world or world pharmacy only because we are supplying the majority of the drugs to majority of the countries, and especially United Nations program and UNICEF programs and so on. So the current scenario in India, basically in the pharma industries, you can compare just like the IT industries in the 90s and 1990s. When they come to India because of the large pool of technically skilled people in India, it was a boom in India. Now we can see the same situation in the pharma industry because the entire world is demanding drugs or vaccines from India, and we are not able to meet the demand of the world. So you can see that how much job that will create. And unfortunately, we are not getting enough chemistry students in our R&D. The main reason in Hyderabad, if you can look into Hyderabad, it's a IT hub. The majority of the students wants to do the computer education. So nobody wants to do science. But now the science jobs are much more than the computer jobs because computer jobs, people are losing the jobs because everybody is working from home. But the R&D jobs, we are in high demand for the MSc chemistry and PhD students. So this is my introduction about a pharma industry. Then I would like to go to my presentation. So I'm just opening my PPT, pharmaceutical industry. As you all are aware that India is a largest provider of generic drugs, and we supply over 50% of the global demand of vaccines and 40% of the generics. And our company, basically Hetero company, is mainly involved in the synthesis of antiretrovirals used for the AIDS and other disease. And the total, the worth of pharma industry, worth was in for the year 20 is 16.3 billion and 16.2 billion exports. So from this basic introduction, you can see how rich or how much business the pharma industry is doing in India. And we can see that so many industries, more than, we are generating more than 3,000 to 4,000 drugs in India, and several vaccines in India. And our major supplier is to US, Europe, and Japan. And we are also supporting the domestic market. the most of the domestic market requirement we are supporting from the in-house manufacturing, and with all kinds of drugs, like it starts from the paracetamol, the metformin for anti-diabetic, the lifestyle disease like metformin, and so on. So the domestic, we can imagine a day without a car or a computer. But if you see somebody is having a lifestyle disease or some other disease, they cannot imagine a day without a drug, without a pill. So they have to take a medicine every day. So that is the importance of this pharmaceutical industry. So this is the general introduction that I'm specifically saying that the Indian pharmaceutical industries are generic in nature. So now I'll come to that one. What is a generic industry and what is a branded company? So the next slide, you can see that this is a structure of a Indian pharmaceutical industries. And mainly the chemistry students or chemistry graduate or PhDs or postdocs are working basically in this area. So, Ani, is it clear and visible?
Yes, sir. It is very clear.
Okay. So you can basically divide the Indian pharmaceutical industries in two categories. The first one is an active pharmaceutical ingredients, that is short form is API or bulk drugs. And another area is formulation. So I will just briefly give an idea, that is what is an active pharmaceutical ingredient. It is nothing but the chemical in a drug. For example, if you take a alcohol, there is a paracetamol. That is the chemical responsible for curing the disease or reducing the disease. So there are active pharmaceutical ingredients is a general term. It can be a drug or medicine or a diagnostic agent or so on. And this also divided into two, that is branded drugs and generic drugs. I think you might have heard about these words, branded drug and generic drugs. The difference between a branded drug and a generic drug, a branded drug is coming from an innovator. That means the company who invented that drug for the first time, he is the one marketing that drug or making and marketing that drug in the market. That means he is a monopoly and he can fix the price. And this drug, it needs a minimum of 8 to 12 years to develop that molecule. And he is the only one till he is having a patent protection. Whenever he develops a molecule, he used to file a patent and he will get a protection. Otherwise, other companies will all of a sudden jump into that one and make that molecule, and he will not get the profits or whatever the money he invested for that developing that molecule. Basically, if you look into a drug development, the minimum time required for a new molecule to come into a patient from the beginning of selection of a molecule to a tablet to a patient, it will take a minimum of 8 to 12 or 15 or 18 years. And an innovator company has to spend a minimum of $400 million to $1 billion. That means around 2,800 crores to 7,400 crores or more than that, depending upon the complexity of the drug. So if he wants to invest that much money, the company has to get the benefit out of that one. Whatever they invested during the 8 to 12 years, they have to get the money back. So the government has put so many concessions to them. They have given a lot of protection to them to keep that market as a monopoly for them till they get the revenue or till the patent protection is over, or there are some other protection also. So that generics comes into play once the patent protection of that drug is over. So any generic company can enter into the market, and therefore the prices will come down. It will be widely available, and even third world countries can afford. You can say that when some of your friends are saying that cancer drug I got from US, it cost 2 lakhs rupees per course. That is a branded drug. The same drug, once it is out of patent, maybe you may get it for 10,000 rupees. And that is the importance of generics. And in India, the majority of the pharmaceutical companies are generics in nature, because we cannot invest that much money and wait for that much time to get the fruit out of that one. So 80 or 90% of the Indian companies belongs to the generics. And formulation also same. A formulation, it means that when you make an active pharmaceutical ingredient, that's a chemical compound, we cannot take that compound as such. It has to convert into a form either as a tablet. You might have seen that a calpol as a tablet or capsule or injection or infusion or powder, whatever it is. That is the formulation. basically in the active pharmaceutical ingredients, basically the chemistry candidates or chemistry professionals will work, and formulation, basically the M-Pharm candidates or pharmaceutical chemistry candidates used to work. These are the two major divisions of Indian pharmaceutical ingredients company and formulation company in India. And a recent development in this one is another set of molecules called biological product and biosimilars. A biological product is synthesized from a living organisms, either from a plant or animal origin, and that is the branded drug. The same as generics, the biological product generic one, we are calling it as a biosimilars. So this is a new area. It's a fast growing area in the pharmaceutical industry. Even our company also doing research in this one, and we are trying to manufacture. Very few molecules are available in the market as a biological product. I think more than 30 is not available. So our company also working on this one. So our today's discussions are mainly based on the active pharmaceutical ingredients and the generics. So there only we can find a lot of opportunities for the chemistry candidates. So again, if you go into some more substructure of this Indian pharmaceutical industry, sir, I told you that drug discovery is one area, and these drug discovery companies are not much in India. Maybe you can, few companies like Dr. Reddy's, Glenmark, Hetero Pharmaceutical, Sun Pharmaceutical. So very few companies are working on drug discovery. I told you the reason why majority of the companies are not coming, because of the huge investments, and the success rates are also very low. So most of the companies are not willing to invest that much money. But other two areas which are very popular in India is the contract research organization, that's called CRO companies. Maybe you might have heard about some companies like GVK in Hyderabad, Biocon in Bangalore, Chem Biotech in Calcutta, Piramal Healthcare. And another one is a contract research and manufacturing services. So these are the other two forms, that is CRO and FAMs, are the other two sectors which are popular in India and where the chemistry candidates can get a job. So what this CRO and FAMs do? I told you that a drug discovery is a long process. So it starts from identifying a lead molecule to make some 10 mg in the beginning, then 100 grams in the beginning. These are called the early stage drug discovery. Then once they go into clinical trials, they need then kilograms. So that is called the late phase of the drug discovery. So in the early phase of the drug discovery, mainly they used to outsource the work to CRO companies. So the CRO companies in India will work closely with the drug discovery companies in US and Europe, and they will support that initial samples to the company. And the CLAMS companies will support them in kilograms. So for example, some 100 kg, 200 kgs of the API to the drug discovery company. So this will benefit both the industry. The drug discovery company can speed up their work. Otherwise, they have to develop synthesis companies or a manufacturing company to get this much material, and they have to put additional time. So the drug companies are benefiting by cutting short the time, and from India, these molecules are much cheaper than which is developed in or synthesized in US or Europe. So CRO and FAMS companies are supporting basically the drug discovery companies from the developed countries. And this is another sector in India, mainly CRO and FAMS. So today, my discussion is mainly on a generic company, because 90% of the pharmaceutical companies in India are generic companies. So before going to that one, I just want to give you what is an active pharmaceutical ingredient. So don't read the full thing. I will just briefly tell. As per the FDA definition, an active pharmaceutical compound is a chemical compound, which is it is a substance intended to furnish a pharmacological activity or other direct effect in the diagnosis. So it may not be a drug. It may be a compound used in diagnosis. It can cure or mitigate or treatment or prevention of disease, or to affect the structure or function of the body. So many functions altogether, we are collectively calling it as an active pharmaceutical ingredient. I will give you some example why we are calling like that. Not only drug, some other molecules also coming there. But in India, basically we call basically the drug, we call it as an active pharmaceutical ingredient. Sorry, the chemical compound. And once you generate the chemical compound, that will go to a formulator. So he will make as a drug product. That's called the finished dosage form. So he will take the formulation company, use these active pharmaceutical ingredients, mixed with some inactive ingredients to make it in the form of a tablet or capsule or injection. It depends upon the stability of the molecule. For example, some molecule, we cannot take all molecules through mouth because once the tablet reaches your stomach, the pH is highly acidic. So at that acidic pH, the compound may decompose. So you will not get the right compound in your body for the intended action. So in that case, sometimes they may directly inject that drug into your body through vein. So it is not going to directly into the stomach and the compound may not be degraded. For example, there are so many peptide drugs. As you know that a peptide contains an amide bond and these amide bonds are very sensitive to concentrated HCl. So if you take a peptide tablet or peptide drug directly through mouth, it will degrade in your stomach. So there is no, only amino acids will be there in your stomach. So basically the peptide drugs are formulated as an injectable or infusion. So directly enter into the blood. So I think this is the general idea about an active pharmaceutical ingredient and a drug product. So for a chemistry student, we are concentrating on the active pharmaceutical ingredients. So these are the some of the examples what I am talking. For example, a simple Calpol. There are several brand names. You can call it a Tylenol, Calpol, Dol, or Crocin, but all contains the same chemical compound, N-acetyl para-aminophenol, and it is formulated in the form of an oral tablet, and is an oral or a syrup, tablet or syrup, but taken through mouth. And the generic name is acetaminophenol. So every compound there is a generic name, brand name, and an active pharmaceutical name. So the acetyl salicylic acid, you can see that aspirin, and metformin. Metformin is a drug used for the diabetic person. I think a lot of maybe our India, the diabetic person, the numbers are very high. So most of the people are taking this drug. That's the metformin. And these are all the simple drugs. But the current generic industries are working on more and more complex molecules. The time of the simple molecules are almost over because as the human, we are very smart, the viruses and bacteria are very smart. So we need a better tool to attack these viruses or bacteria. And nowadays, very complex molecules are there in the market, and we are working on this market. These are the two molecules I would like to explain to. The first molecule is called like a paclitaxel. I think you might have studied about the Taxol. It is a wonderful drug for the cancer treatment. And in this molecule, there are, you can see that multiple chiral centers. There are more than 9 chiral centers are there. And the one in the right, icatibant, is a peptide API. There are 10 amino acids in it, and this is an API used for some severe swelling, recurrent actors of severe swelling. So we are making these compounds in India. And the reason why I am talking to all these things, you can see that the next slide, one more slide is there. So I said these are all the drugs. So the next slide, what you are seeing is the first one is called the gadoxetic acid. It's the gadolinium based metal-based MRI contrast agent. I think you might have heard about MRI techniques and contrast agents. So whenever they do an MRI in the hospital, they used to inject one solution through your vein. So in that one, they used to mix several different kinds of gadolinium-based, that is gadolinium metal-based compounds in that one. So what this molecule will do, when it reaches at the site where the cancer is there, it will give a better illumination. And this gadoxetic acid is developed by Bayer Healthcare, and this is a liver-specific MRI. When you have a cancer in your liver, whenever they inject that one, and when they check through the MRI, that area will be, they will get a better contrast in that area, and the doctor can identify very easily. And the one in the right is called the sulfobutyl ether of beta-cyclodextrin. It is a compound, and name is the captisol. This compound is used as an excipient. You know that when a drug, if it is a good drug to work in your body, it should have a solubility mainly in water, because in the body we need to have water solubility. So, but you can see that from your MSc experiment also, most of the compounds are not water soluble. So what do you do? So generally people used to make a sodium salt or potassium salt or something like that for the API. So that is water soluble. So other way to make an organic compound solubilized is, this is basically a cyclodextrin, which is highly soluble in water, and they used to mix the API with this compound, thereby enhancing the solubility of that organic compound in water. So this is not a drug, but in the generic companies are working on that. This is the definition it is saying. It may be a drug or another substance. So these are all comes under generic business in India. We are all working on this kind of molecules to support to other companies. So this is a general things about active pharmaceutical ingredients and general drugs. The next slide I just want to tell you, just to give a feedback, where the generic company starts their role. So if you look into a basic drug development process, you can see that the initial synthesis of a compound, first they used to screen thousands or hundreds of molecules, and they will shortlist some 1 or 2 or 10. From that one, they will identify one molecule which has some, in the clinical trial, it is showing some activity. Then they identify that as a lead molecule. Then that lead molecule, so this will take minimum of average 1 to 3 years. Then once they identify the molecule, that molecule will go to phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 clinical trials. I think you might have heard about these words. That it will take something around 2 to 10 years experience, 10 years. During that time, basically the company will test its safety, its efficacy, that how effective this compound against the disease, and how safe this compound against the disease, how stable it is. What are the, after taking the medicine, what are the side effects? All studies they will complete. And then it will go to phase 4, that is in the market. So this takes almost 8 to 12 years of time. And majority of the Indian companies are not working in this line. But I mentioned that CRO and CRAMS companies, they used to work along with the drug development company during the initial time, that is, you can say preclinical time, or phase 1 time, phase 2 time, phase 3 time. So they used to get enough quantities or enough supply of the material from the CRO and the CRAMS business. So the generic company comes. So the drug development company will continue to sell this molecule till they get, till they have the patent protection. Once the patent protection is over, so maybe after, so sometimes the drug development company may file the patent in the initial stages of development, or they may file at the later stage of development. So whatever the filing date of the patent, from that date, they used to get a 20 years of protection. So after that protection, the generic company basically entered into the market. So generic company, so what is the generic medication? Again, it's a definition, is a medication created to be the same as an already marketed brand name drug. Dosage form, safety, strength, route of administration, quality, performance, characteristics, and intended use. That means it should be an exact photocopy of branded drug. Because a generic drug also going into market through a thorough evaluation, and there are so many agencies, they will test the quality of that drug. If it is exactly matching with the branded drug, then only they will allow them to market that molecule. And why generic drugs are cheaper than the branded drugs? So now I come in, my discussion is mainly concentrated on generic drugs. So I said the generic drugs are much cheaper than a branded drug. The one reason is I already explained, whenever a branded drug is there in the market, only the innovator is allowed, or he is only have the right to sell that molecule. The price is fixed by the innovator. If you fix a 1 lakh rupee per 10 tablets, that's all, because that drug is not available in the market from any other manufacturer. But when generic companies come into picture, there are so many companies all over the world, hundreds of companies. So the competition starts. So people will, so many people will, just like any other product in the market, you know, today it will be 100 rupees, 10 people are there, it will be 50 rupees, like that, people try to reduce the price. So that is not only the one factor that the generic drugs are cheap, there are so many other things. One of the important rules came into picture, that is the Hatch-Waxman Act by FDA. So what they introduced, they have given a lot of incentives to branded generic companies. Initially, the only way that a generic company can enter into market is after the patent expiry. But according to this act, you can challenge a patent. Suppose you find some mistakes or something is wrong in the patent of a branded company, you can challenge that patent. So that challenging the patent, and if you win that challenge in the court, you will get a right of selling that molecule for another 180 days, that's 6 months. So whoever is challenging the branded drug and getting a right from the court, that company can get a market share along with the branded company for another 180 days. So that means so many companies, the new companies are started challenging the branded companies or innovator companies that you have some problem with your drug. We found that this is not correct, that is not correct. So basically, these are all very costly business. If you lose, you may lose millions of dollars. So that's why, again, this is a game with a lot of money. But as per this act, lot of companies, Indian companies, are rich enough to challenge a branded drug in the market. And there are so many rules. I don't want to go into that much details. You may hear something like a new chemical entity and so on. But one of the most important rules which came into picture, which really supported the generic market to bloom, is this Hatch-Waxman Act introduced in 1984. Then the next question, I told you, why the generic drugs are very cheap compared with the branded drugs. Basically, the reason is, when you introduce a brand drug, we have to do the entire thing in the left: chemistry, manufacturing, controls, so on, and animal studies, clinical studies, bioavailability. Basically, these three last things, animal studies, clinical studies, these are very, very, very costly. But a generic drug manufacturer, he has to do only the first five and just show our compound is equivalent to the branded. So he can save a lot of money. That is the one advantage, that generic drugs are very, very cheap, because the investment from our company is very, very low compared with an innovator company. So this is the reason why generic drugs are cheaper than innovator drugs. Then again, you can ask why one question, because this generic drugs rules are applicable to all over the world. Any country can, this rule is valid in any country all over the world. But why India? Basically, India and China, these are the two countries competing in this generic drugs. Again, that I'm saying, why India? When we compare with India and China, the main issue is the quality of the drug. The Indian drugs means high quality standards, as same as that of the US or Europe or innovator drug. That is one thing. So we are far ahead from China. And the second thing, here comes our goal. That's a large pool of skilled manpower. So India is the one country where we can find a lot of scientists, MSc chemistry, PhD, postdocs, M.Pharm students, chemical engineers. A large pool of skilled manpower are there, and our cost of R&D and manufacturing is very, very low, maybe 1/10 that of the US and other developed countries. And of course, the other countries, why they are buying the API from us? Because high quality products. And there is a strong support from the Indian government also, because Indian government, there is a patent act which support the Indian generics to follow some of the foreign patents without much issues. Maybe you may have heard about some words like evergreening of the patent. The US companies, they always put something to extend the patent life, but Indian government will not, or Indian patent office will not accept that. So that is a strong support from the government. So these are the reasons why the Indian generics are very, very important, and why we are far away from or far ahead of other companies. And of course, and we have a very large capacity manufacturing units. So I think this is the next slide is basically what we discussed, the branded drug and the generic drug difference. I think I will leave this transparency to you. You can go through that one, whatever we discussed is there. So this is one graph which shows that I told you that a patented drug and a non-patented drug. So this is the sale data of one drug called Lipitor. It is nothing but the atorvastatin. Basically, in India also, majority of people are using for cholesterol lowering. When this drug was introduced into the market by Pfizer, initially you can see that the sale was something around 12 billion. Any drug which its sale is more than 1 billion is called a blockbuster. So this is something like a $12 billion. And once the patent is over, you can see that it come down to something around 2 billion. But the sale or the quantity of the drug sold was multiplied. The reason is because more generic companies comes into market and the price reduces. So this graph will give you how much the innovator is getting and how much the ordinary people like India is benefiting with an generic company. So I think this is about generic drugs. I think hope all of you are clear this one, what kind of industries are there in India. And the next slide, basically for my MSc students, just and the PhD students in this audience, just to give an idea what kind of we are doing in an R&D. So I am talking about an active pharmaceutical ingredients and we are making this compound. So basically, the heart of this active pharmaceutical ingredients is synthesis chemistry. So nothing but an R&D lab is a synthesis lab and an analytical lab. We play the major role in this drug discovery or generics or anything. So just for what is the roadmap from a molecule to selling to a customer, what we are doing in R&D, first we select a molecule, mainly by, we select only the molecule which are available in the market from an innovator or a generic molecule. So first the business development group and the intellectual property and portfolio group, I will explain you what are this group. They will identify a molecule based on the business standard. Then that molecule will give into R&D. So we will, find a route of synthesis for this molecule and we will discuss with the intellectual property to make sure that there is no patent issue or another issues. Then in the R&D will make a process development. Process development is nothing but, as you guys are doing the MSc chemistry experiments in the lab for maybe 5 grams or 10 grams scale. So for us, we have to set a synthetic scheme or procedure. I would say in the MSc terms a procedure for a step reaction to make it is in 100 kgs or 1 ton in one shot. So the process development from R&D to plant means a small scale reaction from a 10 grams or 100 grams, which can be scaled up to a 1 ton or 500 kg. So you have to load 500 kg of the starting material and do the reaction. That is the process development. So it needs some engineering, chemical engineering technique. You have to see the scale-up issues and all that thing. So first you will develop a process in the lab. There mainly the research and development, R&D, analytical research and development. So they will check the purity, NMR, IR, so many things. There is separate department. Intellectual property, they will see in the process we are using some, we call it as infringing and non-infringing. That is, we are falling into some pattern. DK is there, they will check the quality of the product, and regulatory is there, whether we are meeting all the rules and regulations. Then we will validate that process in the lab. That means 3 batches we need to do, 3 set of reactions we need to do. Then that process we will do a technology transfer to the plant. And plant then it will go for a manufacturing. And manufacturing will get the API to the customer, that is active pharmaceutical ingredient to the customer. And then we will file that to a government agency. So in all these steps, the MSc chemistry, basically the chemistry students or chemistry graduates are working in all. That means in the R&D and the manufacturing. So this is just an overview of what kind of work, what is the job, what job we are doing in the R&D. Slightly different from the academic research and R&D, but more or less chemistry is same. So we have to do it in a bulk scale. So instead of a 10 grams or 5 gram scale in the MSc lab to 100 kg or 200 kg. The lab first will do the small scale 100 grams, but plant it will be 100 and 500 kg levels. So this is about the steps involved in an API process development. And I talked about the active pharmaceutical ingredients. So who will control? Who will check whether we are making the right compound, we are meeting the quality, or we can just sell it off? No, that is not possible. the pharma industry is the one of the highly regulated industries in the world because a small mistake can kill thousands of people. For example, if you are making, say, atorvastatin, it contains some other organic compound. Maybe that may be deadly poisons. Or we are making a chiral drug, like say, D-penicillin. If it contains the L-isomer, that may give lot of side effects to the patient. So the qualities are highly stringent, and a small mistakes can kill thousands of people. So the quality is at the topmost for a API. So there are so many organizations in every country. For example, in India, there is a central CDSCO, and US Food and Drug Administration, European Directorate of Quality and Medicine in Europe, and internally in our company, there is a very strong quality assurance group is that they will make sure that our drug is meeting all the parameters required for that drug, and of course frequent audit by this government authorities to our manufacturing side. They will check our compound, they will see the manufacturing and everything, and we have to submit some drug master file. I'm not going into detail of that one. So like that, it is open to like that in the university. You are writing a paper, you have to submit an expert, they will verify. Like that, our compounds also has to be verified very thoroughly before going to the market. So this is general about the first portion of my talk. Can I take a few more minutes?
Sure, sir. Please.
So my second portion of this talk is basically what Annie asked me for a presentation. That is, what are the job opportunities and departments? So this is basically, I am talking about the MSc chemistry students, PhD chemistry students, and postdocs, those who have a chemistry background. So in the R&D, that is technical jobs, basically you have to work with your chemistry. So those who are really interested in research, and you can come into this area. And nowadays you can see that an industrial research lab is almost equal to an US labs or IIT labs or a Kerala University lab. We have almost all equipments in our laboratory. In my company itself, in analytical division, we have almost 240 HPLCs, 1 NMR, 7 LCMSs, almost 6 GCMS, surface area analyzer, particle size analyzer, and so on and so on. So we can see that a highly well-equipped labs all over in our company. So you feel that you are working just like in a high-class US labs or something like that. So basically, an MSc chemistry, the heart of any of the company is a synthesis lab. So research and development lab, you have to synthesize the compound, you have to make the compound. So there, the MSc chemistry students are working with us basically, and PhD students also working. And another most important department is analytical research and development. So the R&D, we call it as R&D. The R&D used to check the purity of the sample for HPLC, NMR is there, and IR, mass, LCMS, and so on and so on. Here, basically, MSc chemistry with organic chemistry specialization or analytical chemistry specialization can come. If you have an analytical chemistry specialization, you can be an NMR expert or a crystallographer and so on. We have very strong crystallography also. Nowadays, the polymorphism is the most important part of an API. Even if you make a chemical compound, you should have a consistent polymorphic form. So we also have a separate crystallographic department. Basically, a PhD analytical chemistry with the crystallographic experience, people are working in that one. Another department is development and quality assurance. It's called DQA. So this department assesses the quality of the product and the quality of the product as well as documentation. And another most important department is an intellectual property department. So what they do is basically when you find a route of synthesis or a molecule for making in the company, first thing we have to make sure that the route we are following is not patented by other companies. Generic companies can also patent the process, except the innovator company basically patent the compound only, but generic company can patent the route of synthesis, that one route you can use or another route you can use, polymorphic property, particle size of the compound, and the specific surface area of the compound, and so on. So this intellectual property department will read all the patents published on that molecule and give a clearance to us. Okay, you can follow this one. It's a highly risk department. as well as highly challenging department. So there basically the guy with a very good theoretical knowledge in chemistry can work there. So because they have to do a critical analysis of the patents. So these are basically the R&D jobs. So similarly, whatever I told you, whatever we are developing the molecule in R&D, that is going into the manufacturing. So there again, manufacturing, first one is with the production chemist. So he used to work with the big reactors, maybe 1 kiloliter or 20,000 liters reactors, and so many advanced equipments for manufacturing. That is scaling up of the molecule. Sometimes I told the batch from 100 kg to maybe 1 ton. So production chemists and chemical engineers are working there. And another one, like in the AR&D, the plant, it is called quality control. They will check whatever we set the parameters on the molecule. They will cross-check it once they manufacture the product. And quality assurance will recheck the molecule quality. And regulatory affairs is the one actually check the rules and regulations in the market. So these are the jobs basically the chemistry background candidates can work. And there are some other job opportunities. Those who are not interested to work on chemistry, but it needs some chemistry background. One of the most interesting thing is a business development group. So in business development group, they used to travel. It required a lot of travel in abroad or in all over India. You have to meet the different customers and they have to explain our product quality and everything. So generally, master's degree in chemistry is an added advantage because we can talk about the product little more. And portfolio management, basically what they will do, they will find out a list of molecules which you have to make it for the next 1 year based on the market trend. There also, if you have a chemistry background, it is an added advantage. And project management is an important role in industries now. So the project management they will call as a project manager. They will control the entire sequence of the process development. There will be a single point contact between the different departments I explained in the previous. So we need a single point contact, right, to coordinate with all this department. So whenever a project is in the lab, the project manager will be there and he or she will coordinate with all the departments and get all information. So whenever an R&D head or somebody needs an information, this project manager is having all the information regarding the molecule from different departments. And another important one is the supply chain management. So supply chain management is they basically source the raw materials for the synthesis and the reagents for the synthesis. Why it is important in pharmaceutical industries? This raw material also we cannot buy from anywhere. We have to find out a manufacturer who can give consistently the same quality of the starting material. So these are the different areas where, but this belongs to non-technical jobs. And basically in the production unit, ladies are not working because it needs almost all shift work and it is little risky in that area. So basically in all other departments, both ladies and all can work. So except in the production department, all can work. And the next slide, I would just like to give you some idea about what kinds of positions are available and what is the years of experience and an approximate salary details for the MSc guys. So if you have a fresh MSc chemist, initially we are hiring just like a trainee chemist because he needs some training to understand the pharmaceutical industry and the nature of work. There is slight difference from the university work and academic work and industry work. So we'll train them. So basically, as a fresher, we consider just like a stipend or a basic salary of around 1.2 to 2.2 lakhs per annum. Then every 2 years or 1 year, based on the performance, we'll promote them to chemist, senior chemist, and officers. So up to 5 years and around 2.5 to 4 lakhs. That's the salary range. And next level is executive to senior executive, 5 to 10 years and 4 to 6 lakhs. So next levels comes as the manager level. We have assistant manager. In some CRO companies, the terminology is scientist 1, scientist 2, scientist 3, senior scientist, like that. But in API company, generally we call it as assistant manager, deputy manager, manager, and senior manager. So if you are coming with a PhD, basically we used to offer them as an assistant manager. And if a PhD with a postdoc, we used to give a deputy manager or manager. And we consider that 5 years of experience plus MSc experience. So total of around 7 to 8 years experience we consider. Because again, a PhD chemist is coming from an academic lab. He has to learn a different kind of techniques to work in that. Of course, his chemistry knowledge and degree support him to learn very fast. And salary range will be something around 6 to 8 to 12 lakhs. And next comes the general manager. So they are both MSc chemists with 12 plus or 15 years experience and a PhD chemist with 10 years experience. So initially AGM is a DG and deputy general manager, assistant general manager, senior manager. And this comes with a 12 plus years of experience. And here salary has no bar. You can get a salary from 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 50, 60, depending upon our performance and experience. So any level in industry, the advantage you can get anytime a 3-stage promotion or 4-stage promotion based on your performance. And salary also, these are all only for your understanding, but you can directly jump from a 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs salary if you complete some very crucial project within short time. The company may pay you double the salary. And basically, the head of the R&D will be associate vice president, and senior vice president, around 20 plus years. So this is the general designation and basically which degree and the number of years of experience. And next slide, what are the benefits which we are offering? So we offered the health insurance for all the employees, including family and parents. And some of them have a 21,000, less than 21,000 salary, they will get an ESI. That means all your health needs will be, your family and yours will be taken care by the government. And the annuals, every year the salary will increase, not like government, not after 5 years. Every year, every April, there is an increment, a minimum 5 to 30% or 50% based on your performance. And annual bonus are there, and product and project bonus. Suppose if you complete a very complex product within short time, you got a very good customer, maybe the company may pay some product bonus or some 50,000 or 1 lakh or 2 lakh. And some companies, our company used to give some cars or something like that for 5 years of experience, something like that. Most of the company offers free transportation, and PF is there, gratuity is there. And our company, we are providing even hostels for the freshers, free of cost. And what is the mode of selection? I think here we have 2 levels of interview. First one will be a technical interview. Basically, in R&D, we used to do the first level of interview, basically on a basic MSc chemistry questions. So we also go with little detail. We will ask them some mechanisms like unload reaction, Heck reaction, Suzuki reaction, because nowadays the chemistries are a little complicated. Basically, we ask the questions from enzyme reactions and some conversion, like how to convert a ketone into alcohol. What are the different reagents like oxidation, reduction you are using, how to quench palladium, butyl lithium, what are the special conditions for butyl lithium. Some NMR questions like what is the range of, say, ethanol molecule or something like that. Some IR questions, what is the frequency of the carbonyl groups in acid chloride, and so on. So very basic question, but we expect an answer from the candidate, because that is a very, very basic. The candidate is giving a good answer, then we will go a little up. And there is a second level of interview, basically the HR interview. They will check whether the candidate is fit for the company, is a stable one, whether he will stay at least 3 to 4 years experience. Whenever we hire a chemist, we expect them to stay at least 5 years, because the first 1 year we are giving them a training. Second year only we are going to get something from that guy. So somebody is leaving in the second year, it's a waste for our company. So generally, from an MSc fresher, we expect them to stay at least 5 years with us. And these are the general thing. And how to apply. So the most important thing nowadays our company is following is from Naukri or LinkedIn. You can see if you log into Hetero LinkedIn group, you can see every week there is an advertisement. Because our company total manpower is 20,000 employees. So every week, so many employees are moving out of the company, and we are hiring. So you follow LinkedIn very closely. You can find lot of advertisement from our company for all these positions. And against an advertisement, if you look into our webpage, you can see some advertisement. Or you can, without any opening also, you can check the HR number, HR email, and you can send it. And through some consultants for higher position, basically the companies will approach a consultant. And we are also going to several campuses for campus selection. And you can see that in Hyderabad, most of the Sundays, there are some walk-in interviews, especially for freshers. And the majority of the company depending upon the reference to the employee, the working employee in that company. So these are the major modes of selection. It is not like advertising in the newspaper or anywhere. Basically, you can go through Naukri or Shine or LinkedIn. And so this is general. I think I have completed my technical discussion of 2 parts. In few slides, I just want to show our company. This is a Hetero Research Foundation. It's our research organization under Hetero Drugs. It's established in 1993. This is the building is our R&D. Almost 1,000 plus scientists are working. More than 30 PhD postdocs and 50 PhDs are there. We do all kinds of chemistry like generics, complex APIs, novel drug delivery systems, new chemical entities, biosimilars, and we are the world leaders in antiretrovirus and oncology drug. I'm heading the oncology division of this company. So we have almost 55 plus oncology drugs in the market out of 110 oncology molecules. Our aim is to synthesize all the oncology drug and put it in the market. And this is a snapshot against our company, 25 years of experience, and 36 manufacturing facilities are there, 300 products are there. We have presence in 126 plus countries, around 21,000 employees, largest closely held company. It is not, it's still a private company. And among the largest manufacturers of antiretrovirus in the world, and Asia's biggest manufacturing unit is in Visakhapatnam that belongs to our company. And the COVID-19, these are our contribution from our company. We were the first company in India to market remdesivir. You might have heard about this molecule. It's a late stage of COVID. They have to get this injection. And the favipiravir is another molecule to treat the mild COVID. In the initial stages, now they are giving this favipiravir. Our trade name is Favivir. And finally, and these are the major companies in India. And finally, I would like to thank our chief, our CMD, Dr. Pathasayad Reddy, and our R&D head, Dr. Nagar Reddy. And with this one, I'm closing my discussion, and it is free to, I would be very much happy to answer any questions. Please feel to ask any questions. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was really wonderful because we don't have chances to hear such talks. Usually,
I don't know. It took a little longer time than you gave me. So please.
No, that's fine. That's fine because everything was a little bit new to us, so we were just hearing.
That's why I also
I'm sure.
time.
So, നമ്മുടെ കുട്ടികൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും question ചോദിക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ചോദിക്കട്ടെ.
I'm so happy to answer any question, even for half an hour, 1 hour. You can ask anything.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. So, നമുക്കിവിടെ MSc കുട്ടികളുണ്ട്, PhD ചെയ്യുന്നവരുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ക്യാമ്പസിലല്ലാതെ പുറത്തുനിന്ന് കുറച്ച് കുട്ടികൾ നമുക്ക് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്.
That's fine.
From
no
different
issue.
colleges also.
Yeah. Anybody can ask, no issue. In Malayalam or English, both are fine.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, please.
Sir, any other purity testing required in API manufacturing other than spectroscopic analysis?
Okay, the question is any other purity testing required for an API other than spectroscopic analysis, right?
Right, sir.
Okay, the answer is yes, lot of tests, not any other tests. So in an API development, the spectroscopy techniques comes in the beginning only to characterize the structure. But
okay, sir.
Basically, we need to pass an HPLC test, high performance liquid chromatography test. So whenever we synthesize any molecule, we need to check the purity of that compound. We need to get, there is a term called ICH quality, International Conference on Harmonization. So ICH quality means your compound should be 99.5% purity. And we call that compound, whenever you synthesize, for example, paracetamol, maybe some impurity may be just like phenol in it, right? So you have to show that any other impurities are less than 0.15% if you know the structure of that impurity. If some impurities you don't know the structure, it should be below 0.1%. So that is the most important test we are doing for any of the API, that is HPLC test. Then we need to test the compound for GC, because we are using lot of solvents during synthesis, right? So hexane, benzene we are not using, methanol, and every solvent there is a specific limit fixed by the authorities. So this sample we need to check in GC, and we have to prove that all the solvent limits, solvent content are below the limit. For example, ethanol it is 500 ppm, and methanol it is 300 ppm, dichloromethane it is 400 ppm. So we have to prove that our compound contains these solvents, whatever the solvents we have used in the synthesis, below than the specified limit. That is another test. Then there are so many other things are there. Some of the compounds are genotoxic in nature. That means some of the organic compound present in your compound as an impurity, it can be genotoxic. That means it can they're teratogenic or mutagenic compound. So that one you need to show very, very low limit, like less than 10 ppm. And if you use any palladium or copper or a metal in your reaction, there are some limits. For example, palladium content. If you are using a Suzuki reaction, the palladium content should be less than 10 ppm. So the spectroscopy is only to confirm the structure, that is your compound is correct or not. Okay. So there are so many other tests. Is it clear?